My name is Suzy Skillman. Here about approximately 10 years ago, I had a very bad fall, and at that time I jammed both of my shoulders back. I went through my primary care physician. We went through different tests, different pain relievers. She was not able to give me any relief, and she referred me on to a pain management doctor, and then in turn that doctor sent me to a surgeon, and then that doctor in turn sent me to physical therapy. So after several years of trying different medications, then I went to another physician, and after several series of cortisone shots, I was referred to Dr. Michael Farrell.
So Suzy came to me with a long history of pain in both of her shoulders. In one of her shoulders, she had osteoarthritis, or your basic wear and tear arthritis, where the cartilage in the joint wears down, and you eventually get to a point where it's just bone on bone. So if this is a model of the shoulder, we have the arm, the top of the arm here, that's the humerus. And so the humeral head sits in the socket, which is your scapula or your shoulder blade, and the name of the socket is called the glenoid. But basically you think about it as a joint where in this setting where it's osteoarthritis, there's no cartilage left, and the bone is sitting on the bone. And it's quite painful. These patients have pain at night. Really, they have pain with any kind of significant shoulder motion. They have difficulty lifting heavy objects. They've lost some range of motion. And that's not something you can work through with stretching. It's usually there's a mechanical block to the rotation, which is usually a bone spur or an osteophyte. And so in the setting of shoulder osteoarthritis, those patients, after they've been managed non-operatively with activity modifications, anti-inflammatories, cortisone injections, therapy, that kind of thing, once they get to the point where they're symptomatic enough for surgery, they get a shoulder replacement. And what that is we go in and replace the joint. And so they get, on the head side, they get a brand new ball, and typically there's a stem that goes down the shaft, and there's a new surface. On the opposite side, where the socket is, we resurface it. And that typically looks something like this. There'll be a polyethylene cup with some sort of fixation into the bone, either being cement or a surface that will allow bone to grow into that peg for a long-term fixation. This particular brand has both, and so you can see that's how the new shoulder works. They have a new cup and a new ball, and it works wonderfully. The outcomes from that are very, very good, and it's been shown to be quite durable, with 90+% still in place at 15 years. So it's a very durable surgery.
From the very first visit with Dr. Farrell, he made me very much at ease, was able to answer and ask questions, got everything answered the way I wanted to. I just felt like I made a new friend with Dr. Farrell. It just, I just love him to death. Couldn't ask for any more out of a doctor. Upon examination and another set of tests, it was determined that I did need to have surgery on both of my shoulders. We did my left shoulder first, and then 8 months later I had my right shoulder done. The main thing to do is to do everything the doctor tells you to do, and to do all your physical therapy on a daily routine and keep going on that. I was a firm believer with ice packs.
In the other shoulder, she had a different type of arthritis. This kind of arthritis is called rotator cuff tear arthropathy. And it's a condition in which patients who have a long-standing chronic rotator cuff tear start to develop a unique kind of arthritis. And so in osteoarthritis, or wear and tear arthritis, the humeral head, the ball, stays centered in the socket, in the glenoid, and they wear out the cartilage. But even after it's bone on bone, it's still centered in the socket, and it's the rotator cuff that's holding it there. Well, in folks that have chronic rotator cuff tears, the humeral head is not able to stay in the socket. It starts to ride superiorly or up in this direction. And when that happens, the humeral head over time will start to wear on this structure. This is called the acromion. That's that flat part of your shoulder that you can feel when you touch the top of the shoulder. Well, the undersurface of the acromion doesn't have cartilage on it. It's not a joint. And so when you start to wear there, it's quite painful. And then they also start to wear out the top of the cup, which is different than your wear and tear arthritis. And so in someone who has rotator cuff tear arthropathy, we can't do a standard total shoulder because a standard total shoulder or a regular shoulder replacement still requires the rotator cuff to hold the ball in the socket. They don't have a cuff. They don't have a functional cuff, that is. So in that setting, we do what's called a reverse total shoulder. The reverse total shoulder has been around since about 2004 in the United States. It's been used in Europe for much longer, decades. And so there's good data there showing that it works and that it's very effective, especially for rotator cuff tear arthropathy. And so it's called the reverse total shoulder because it's backwards. Instead of having the ball on the ball side and the socket on the socket side on a reverse, we put the ball on the shoulder blade side or the scapula side, put the socket on the other side. And that looks like this. And the beauty of this is that the stability comes from the implant. Okay, you don't need a rotator cuff to hold the ball in place. And it's an outstanding design, and it's very, very effective at pain relief. And when used in the proper indications, the patients are very, very happy. And so Suzy had a standard total shoulder in one shoulder and a reverse total shoulder in the other. And she has been very, very happy with the outcome of both of these surgeries.
Upon going back for follow-up visits with Dr. Farrell, I highly recommend to all of my friends that if they know of anybody or have had an injury, to go to Dr. Michael Farrell. I just, wished I had did this 5 years ago at least. Totally satisfied. I have total movement. I can do anything that I want to do. I can get out. My main thing is to work in my landscaping. I can get out there and work for hours and never have one single pain.